Hey, what's up everyone? I'm Kevin from Simpledrummer.com. In this video, I'm going to demystify the idea of time signatures. If this is your first time here, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you can stay in the loop for all of our future videos. Time signatures are the numbers that you see at the beginning of any passage of music. In a moment, I'm going to jump on the drums and I'll show you some really simple grooves in a few different time signatures. Then it's up to you to practice them and to count the rhythm appropriately so that you get a feel for these various time signatures. Almost every drummer starts off by learning to play in 4/4 time first. It's because it's the most common time signature in music. The top number always refers to quantity. It means how many beats in the bar. So because it's a 4 beats in each bar. Now the bottom number is a little different. It tells you what kind of note gets the beat. When the bottom number is a 4, it means that the quarter note gets the actual count. So if we're playing an 8th note rhythm, that's why we count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Because it's only the quarter notes that get the numbered count. Now when you look at the notation, of course, you see 4 beats, and in every beat, those 8th notes are grouped together. I'm going to start by showing you the most basic groove pattern. It's probably the first one you ever learned, and it sounds like this. In all of the following time signatures I'm about to show you, I'm going to use simple groove patterns that kind of have the same idea going on. Now why don't we start with another time signature we hear pretty often, which is 3/4 time. Now remember, the top number means quantity, so there's 3 beats in every bar, and because the bottom number is still a 4, it's telling you that the quarter note gets the numbered count. So if we're playing an 8th note rhythm, you're counting ands. Now why don't we take the same approach with our groove pattern? Let's start off with the bass drum on the 1, we'll play the snare drum on the 2, but then on beat 3, just play 8th notes on your hi-hats, that's it. So here's how this groove pattern should look and sound in 3/4 time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. Let's look at 5/4 time. Now remember, the top number is quantity, so that means there's 5 beats in every bar. The bottom number, still being a 4, means that the quarter note gets the beat. So if you're playing 8th notes, you'll be counting and. Let's take a simple groove pattern where we put the bass drum on the 1. The snare drum will play on the 2. Then we'll play the bass drum on the 3. The snare drum will play on the 4. So far, it's exactly the same as what we had in 4/4 time. Except the very last beat at the end, we'll just have the 8th notes on the hi-hats. So all together, with the correct counting, here's how this groove pattern should look and sound. Now all of these time signatures that I've shown you have been over 4. So you're always counting and in between each count. But there are other time signatures that don't function that way. Let's look at a really common one, 6/8 time. Now in this time signature, the top number is a 6. That means there are 6 beats in every bar. But because the bottom number is an 8, it's telling you that the 8th note gets the beat. That means each individual 8th note gets its own count. So you won't be saying and. We're going to be putting the bass drum at the very beginning on the count of 1. Then the snare drum will play at the beginning of the next group. Now that's on the count of 4. So this groove pattern in 6/8 should look and sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are a lot of songs in this time signature with that groove, so there's a good chance you're hearing it and thinking, that sounds really familiar, I've heard that before. Now let's look at a time signature that's a little more odd. We're going to be looking at 5/8 time. In 5/8, it's telling you that there are 5 8th notes in every bar. That means you're simply counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. So let's put the bass drum at the very beginning on the count of 1. Then we're going to put the snare drum at the beginning of those 2 notes at the end. So that's on the count of 4. Now when I play this together with my counting, here's how it should look and sound. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let's look at a time signature that's a little more odd. We're going to be playing a groove pattern in 7/8 time. Now the top number being a 7 means that there's 7 beats in every bar. But because the bottom number is an 8 again, it means every individual eighth note gets its own count. So in this groove pattern, we'll be playing the bass drum right at the beginning when we count 1. Then the snare drum will be played in the middle of that first grouping, and that's when we count 3. Now in the next grouping of notes, we're going to put the bass drum at the very beginning, which is when you count 5. Then we'll play the snare drum at the very end when you count 7. Now what you have to watch out for is that right after 7 comes 1. So there's going to be a little bump in this groove pattern. You have to look out for that. Here's how it should sound with the correct counting.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
If you want to learn more material in any one of these time signatures, check out the lessons at Simpledrummer.com. I hope this video helped you to understand what time signatures are all about and what those numbers mean. Remember that it's all about how the notes are grouped and how you're counting them. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.